And that's the most horrifying way I can start a video. Hi, I want to talk about addictions. There are so many different types of addictions, and the world has trained us to think that addictions are really drugs, alcohol, overeating, smoking. These are the kind of things that often they make commercials for, and the world talks about if you know someone that's an addict, talk to them, and that's true. There's also many other types of addictions. There's also controlling people. There's also approval. For years, I've had a definite addiction to approval. There's addictions to um, worrying. There's addictions to stressing. There's addictions to all kinds of different things. But one thing I think is the most core addiction that if we looked at it and we took care of, the other things would unravel is the addiction to our thoughts. We are so used to, and it being the only thing we know, it being totally normal to be addicted to our thoughts. We live in a place where, think about today, if you just review your day, how much of your day were you in the past or in the future? And what I mean by that is you were never actually in your past. You're always in the present moment. But what happens is when we're in the present moment, a thought comes up about the past. And when it comes up, we don't just love it. We're in the present moment thinking about the past, but the past comes up, and then the second we do that, we get so caught in the past and we don't like that thought that we immediately resist that thought. And when we do, that puts us in a place where we're in the present moment and we're stressing about the past. So in this moment, we don't notice this moment because we're so busy saving our lives as a defense mechanism from our resistance to our own thoughts. Or we're in our future. We're always thinking next week, I hope that I don't screw this up, or I hope that they don't like me, or I hope that they do like me. And we're in this place where we're always in our resistance to ourselves, where we're thinking of something in the future. And the second you think of that thing, if you don't like it, you're thinking, what if I screw this up? You are under the illusion that that's a life or death thing. So you go in there to fix that thought. You try to change that thought. So you're always in the present moment. You're only this moment. As you're watching this video, take in right now the concept that the only place that your past exists is when you think about it in this moment. The only place that the future exists is when you think about it in this moment. But when these things show up, if you suddenly get so lost in the past that you think that it's a real thought and you think that it's a scary thought, you immediately resist it, and that suddenly makes it more valid. If you realize that you're having these thoughts in the present moment and they're just little fantasy thoughts, even if they're negative, and you let them be there, they have nothing to climb. They have no wall against them. They have no resistance, and they'll fall on their own. So if a thought comes up from the past and goes, that one time that person hurt me, and you just think, cool, they were supposed to, all of a sudden it doesn't have power over you. If you go into the future and you think, that thing that might go wrong, this audience might not like me, everything could fall apart, and then you go, cool, then that thought goes away. That thought doesn't have power over you. It's your resistance to a thought that keeps it there. But we have trained ourselves to just be in a place of resistance with ourselves all day. And when we do that, immediately we go to an external thing, an addiction, Facebook, overeating, drinking, as a way to get back in the moment, as a way to feel like we're in the moment. Because when you're drunk, you feel right now. You're not thinking of your taxes later. When you're high on a drug, you notice how your body feels right now. You notice the whole thing. So the real core issue, I really believe, from doing 2 hours of meditation a day for the last 9 months is our addiction to our thoughts. And if we can really take in the idea that this is happening, first of all, and then start the acceptance of it, then what happens is you become aware of this. The more aware you become, the more the thoughts aren't something that you're resisting all the time. And the more you're not resisting them, the more that you feel that you're in this moment, because a thought can only exist and stay there if you're resisting it, if you're in war with what is. So if you comprehend that you're here to just sit, now remember, I've been sitting for a couple hours a day for the last 9 months or so, and what happens when I do that is all kinds of thoughts show up, and I realize that I'm the space that's looking at them. And people often say, I don't have time to do that. And my offer to you is that I really believe that like a month of sitting for 2 hours a day is more productive, more effective, and will give you even more abundance than working stressfully, strainfully against yourself for 40 hours a week. The more that you connect to yourself, the more that you get in the moment. And the brilliant creative ideas that show up in a lot of people can show up in you too. Everyone is capable of really brilliant, creative, innovative ideas for the world that are abundant and worth a ton of money. The problem is, very few people are willing to get into an alignment in the moment to collect that idea. Most of us are so busy in the past and the future that we don't actually get into a state of being able to create abundance for ourselves because we're so busy trying to fix the problem that our mind came up with. But the real issue is that we think that the thought that we're having is real. So we're fixing a problem versus just noticing maybe there isn't a problem. Maybe the problem is that I believe there's a problem. And instead of us coming up with a solution to make ourselves more loved by other people, maybe we should look at the underlying belief that we don't believe we're lovable, or that we are loved, or that we're worthy of love. Maybe we should take a look at that versus just accepting that thought blindly and going into the solution for that thought. Maybe fixing is an addiction. Maybe trying to get love outside of you is an addiction. Maybe everything but what you actually are is an addiction. And the more that you realize that the reason you're stressed is not what the world is doing to you, it's that you're doing this to yourself. And you're creating a situation where you're staying enslaved, you're staying in pain, and you're constantly looking for an escape from yourself. And that's what an addiction does. That's what Netflix does. That's what Facebook does. That's what, getting approval does from other people. And I promise you that as you sit and connect with yourself, not only will you create more abundance for yourself, higher health for yourself, higher love for yourself, it will also help you through the transcendence of many addictions. I know some people hear this and go, well, there's a chemical aspect to drugs and alcohol, and I totally understand that. I used to drink like crazy in my 20s, and I know what it feels like, and I understand a lot of elements of what you're saying. And what I want to offer you is the more you choose to connect with yourself, and I really want this to come through. Don't knock it till you try it. You can't talk about this thing until you actually do it. But when you actually realize that you're just this moment, you lose the platform that makes addiction possible, because your high will be so much bigger as you connect to what you truly are. And when you realize what you truly are, no alcohol high, no anything high can touch the power of what you are. You have to create the intention and the knowing that you connecting to yourself is more powerful, more incredible, more impactful, more creative than any addiction outside of you. So the more you connect to yourself, the more you truly create the intention, the more you let your mind fall away. And trust me, the first week of doing this, it's going to be like letting go of any other addiction. You're going to go through withdrawals. You're going to be sad. You're going to miss the part of you that worried and tried to control people. You're going to miss that all the time. But the more you connect to yourself, the more you allow, the more as a byproduct, you will start to diminish addictions. You will start to diminish anxieties. You will start to do this. I'm only talking from my experience. I understand we're all different. And it's only up to you to at least add to your healing or your transcendence of your addictions some connection to yourself. Because let me tell you something, when you do, you'll create a space of love that is so powerful that many things can't touch it anymore. And it's a choice. You are more powerful than anything. People hate hearing that. People love to give their power to other things. People love to give their power to their addictions, but I promise you, you are more powerful than anything. You just have to agree with that. You can prove me wrong or you can prove me right, but I know from doing the work that all I am is love. And I know from choosing love, choosing to be that, choosing to sit and be and do the work to actually prove it and embody that, so my nervous system proves it to my body too, that you can take on anything. It's a choice, and it's up to you to go, what do I choose? And maybe you haven't finished choosing staying addicted to your thoughts, and that's fine. But you'll do it until you're ready. And when you're finally ready, let's go.